Okay. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the UMA Alumni Association's May webinar, Mastering the Art of Interviewing. We're just going to wait a few seconds while we let everybody get adjusted and settled in. While we wait, we're interested to know what graduating classes we have listening today. You can send your class here in the questions box in the attendee panel on the left. As we wait to hear from you guys, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Alexis, and I'm the Alumni Engagement Coordinator at UMA. Chad and myself are very excited to be here with you guys tonight, or today. Great, so it looks like we have some recent grads, and we have some grads from a little further back. Awesome. 2017, just graduated. Congratulations to recent alumni. So our speaker, Chad Bagley, will be presenting this webinar. Before Chad begins presenting on this topic, I want to give you a quick breakdown of the webinar. So Chad will speak for roughly 45 minutes, and then he'll open up the last 15 minutes for Q&A. You can send your questions at any time in that same questions box that I was just talking about, and we'll collect them and address as many as possible at the end. We also just wanted to let you know that you are muted to prevent noise interference during the webinar. So if you have a question, make sure to send it in the questions box since we are unable to hear you. So thank you for joining us, and let's begin, Chad.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen in on this webinar, and I'm hoping that you take away some very, very usable and applicable knowledge that is going to help you moving forward in your desire to land that job to get you started in your career field. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I started out in the Career Service Department of Ultimate Medical Academy about 2.5 years ago. I now operate as a part of our leadership team in a coaching role where I help out advisors every single day with just getting better at and more efficient at doing what we're trying to do to help you guys out post-graduation. I also had the opportunity last year to speak at fall commencement on the behalf of the Career Service Department, and that was an awesome opportunity, and I really enjoyed it. So I am also looking forward to covering this topic with you today. And just to let you know that prior to this, I had a little bit of background in sales and a couple of years of public speaking. So this is my first time actually having the opportunity to do a webinar, so I'm excited about that also. All right, so let's get started. Mastering the art of interviewing. Where does that come from? What does that look like? And how is that going to help me moving forward? If you all ask those questions, this is I just stated them, then stay tuned because that's what we're going to do, all right? So let's talk about how this all started for me. And I'm going to actually talk to you guys about some of my personal experience, and I like to actually share the interview that comes to mind that really helped me come to develop this training and this webinar for you. So I was in between jobs, and I had to go. I was interviewing, of course, because I needed to get another job. And I remember going on an interview for a marketing company that I was very interested in. And I had to go through submitting a lot of information online before I even actually was able to get the face-to-face interview. I'm pretty sure you guys have done the same thing, and the process was no different than maybe going on Indeed or Monster and all those things. So I went through that process, submitted some information to them. They called me in for the interview. I remember the day I went in for the interview, and I sat in this office, and it was very nicely designed. And I went in with the office manager, and she had these nice modern chairs that were kind of uncomfortable to a certain extent, but I sat in the chair, and I remember sitting in that chair, and for me, when I'm nervous or anything like that, I sweat bullets. So I'm in there sweating, and I feel the way you all felt maybe the first time you interviewed for any job. But I remember sitting there, and I was just focused. I was able to answer her questions. I was able to articulate my thoughts very well. And I remember walking out of there like I thought I did a horrible job in this interview. But they ended up calling me back for a second interview. And the second interview I went, it was actually an on-site interview with the company. And I was just as concerned, nervous, all those things. and I went out on the floor with them at a marketing event they had. I came back after that. I gave them some suggestions about how I thought things could be better with their marketing presentation. Yes, me, the interviewee, gave the company suggestions, right? And they actually called me back again for a third interview. Now, I don't know how many people were interviewing for this position. I know I got down to the final 2. And they called me back and said, hey, Chad, we want to offer you this position. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't take the position because the time frame that I would need to do it would really conflict with things with my family. But outside of that, I was excited. But I realized that I learned something in that process. And I want to share with you guys what I learned and how I was able. I didn't have a marketing degree. I didn't have a background in marketing. I just went in there, and there's 3 simple things that I did, and I'm going to share those things with you today. So if I was you, there will be things up on the screen, but I will also take some notes because there are going to be some things that I'm going to share that you're not going to see up on the screen, all right? So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I remember riding home one night, and at this point I'm a career service advisor, and I am just dedicated and just passionate about helping out my graduates. And I'm thinking to myself, Chad, how can you get better at what you're doing? How can you make your graduates better? How can you help them maximize every single opportunity that they have? And for some reason, Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror song popped in my head. So I'm riding home, and I'm thinking about Man in the Mirror. And if you know the song, if you've ever seen the video, Michael Jackson is trying to convey a message in this song. And what he's trying to convey to us is that there are situations and circumstances taking place in the world, and if we as human beings are going to do anything about those things, we're going to have to be willing, first of all, to not point our finger or look at what's going on, but first of all, look at ourselves. What are we doing? What have we done to make any change take place? And so I begin to say, okay, great. What have I been through? What have I learned? What things have I had to overcome in my personal life in order to get where I am? And how can I share those things in a way that can be helpful to my graduates? And so I began to develop this, and I began to share this with my graduates a few days later once I thought it out and wrote it out, and it began to help a lot of them going into the interviews and being a little bit more successful. Yes, it helped some of them land opportunities, but not all. But I believe it helped them feel more valued and understand their value, and that's what I want to do today. I want to help you build your value as a graduate of UMA and as overall as a person. So that's what we're really going to focus on today. So let's get started. Let's start with the first step and the first thing that I did. The first thing, I go back to the Man in the Mirror thing. So if you're going to help anybody else, you got to first be able to help yourself. So that means that you have to be willing to look at yourself. And the thing about that is sometimes it's hard to do because maybe sometimes we don't like what we see. And I'm not talking about just aesthetically, just outside. I'm just saying period, who we are. And we want to make those changes. And maybe coming to Ultimate Medical Academy was a step in the right direction for you as a person to make that change. But what really slows us down and prohibits us from actually being able to move forward is the issues that we really can't see. And sometimes it's hard to see the issue because the problem's in the way. And the best way for me to explain it, if you ever remember being in high school or maybe even when you were a little kid or maybe you've been to a Broadway show, you always know that right before the show, there's some chaos going on behind the curtain, right? And nobody really gets to see that chaos because when that curtain opens up, everything's beautiful and pretty and ready to go. But a lot of times that's how the issues are in our life. We can't really see those issues because that curtain is closed and all we can really see is the curtain, and the curtain is usually the problem. It's what we see, and maybe we can hear what's going on behind there, but we can't really see what's going on behind there. So it takes for us to take the time and not be afraid and pull that curtain back and say, oh, I see you, I see what's going on. And that really, really, really takes a big step in us wanting to better ourselves individually. So I'll also share it in this way for maybe the people who've never seen anything theatrical. We always, when we see maybe in California or whatever, we see forest fires burning, right? And sometimes we think to ourselves, how could a fire that big start? What started that? Well, a lot of times people think, well, somebody threw a match out the window, somebody threw a lit cigarette out the window, or maybe lightning strike the ground, who knows? But we only see the fire burning, right? But we overlook sometimes is that forest fire really started, and it was burnt out of control the way it did because there was a lack of saturation in the ground, right? There was a lack of moisture. If that moisture would have been there, that lit cigarette may have been thrown out the window and just went out, or that lightning strike would have struck, but it wouldn't have turned into a large fire. And it's the same thing for us and sometimes in our personal lives. Right, there are dry spots. There are areas that need saturation, and those areas are not getting saturated. So they begin to burn out of control, and they become our own personal fires that we find ourselves constantly fighting to put out. Right. So I hope that in this training that you guys get some things that helps put out some of those fires and saturate some of those areas in your life. So yes, is it going to be about mastering the art of interviewing? It is, but it's all going to be also going to be some great life lessons that have actually personally helped me because this came from what I've been through and what I've learned. So the first thing that I begin to see is, and I want you guys to ask yourself this, there is a reason you signed up for class. There was a reason you signed up to go to Ultimate Medical Academy, whether you signed up to be a medical administrative assistant, a medical biller and coder, a medical office billing specialist, or maybe you signed up for the Foreign Tech program, maybe you HCM, HHS, whatever program you signed up for. There was a multiplicity of programs there, right? But you picked a specific program. Why? Because you felt like that's where your strength would be, or that's where you would have a certain level of interest. And now that you finished that program and you're finished with school, you did something when you chose that program. You made a choice, right? And when you made that choice, you put yourself in a position to get where it is that you believe you want to be in life and where you believe that that actual program is going to help you get to, right? So that took a certain level of confidence. But before that took place, you had a vision, right? You were focused on something. You shift your focus. You start worrying about what you were really what was going on in your life. And you said, you know what? I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to really focus on making my life better. I'm going to start developing a vision for myself. I'm going to start putting myself in position to be successful as an individual. So I want you to think about this. I want you to ask yourself, why did I choose my program? I also want you to ask yourself, what made me fight through those tough days and made me finish? What made me turn that homework in? Even though it may have been late, I still got it done. What were those things? What drove you? What motivated you to keep going, to keep pushing? What was it? Write those things down real quick. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to write those things down. Now, I've spoken to certain graduates, and they've entered into the healthcare field because maybe they had a mother or a father or aunt or uncle, somebody who was already in the healthcare field, and they had a lot of respect and admiration for that person. Or maybe you got into your program because you were just tired of doing what you were already doing and you wanted to do something new. And healthcare, you know, it's stable. It's a market. It's a occupation in an area where it's always going to be a need. So you say, hey, I'm going to go into the healthcare field, right? Now, I want you to also ask yourself this. Now that you've finished school, where do you see yourself 6 months from now? 6 months from now, where do you see yourself? Because one thing that has helped me out in life is a lot of times we say we're going to set goals, and we set these long, lofty goals that we think we're maybe going to reach in 5 years or 3 years. I've learned that what has helped me personally, and you can use this if you like, is I set goals 6 months apart, and it helps me to reach them because I know I have a certain period of time to do it. So maybe that's something you want to try. So where do you see yourself 6 months from now? Once you've done that, I want you guys to do one other thing for me. Now, I'm assuming everybody the sun is out, unless you're on the other side of the world and maybe it's nighttime. But I want you guys to just take a minute. I want you to look out your window. The closest window to you, I want you to look out that window. I want you to tell me what it is that you see outside of that window. What is it that you see outside of that window? Maybe you see a car. Maybe there's another house that's adjacent to you. Maybe there's birds on the fence, or there's clouds and there's trees, a building. Whatever it is, that's your view, right? You could actually go outside and tangibly touch those things. What I'm asking you to do, the reason why I'm asking you to look 6 months ahead, because I want you to create a vision for yourself. The difference between a vision and a view is this. If I ask you what type of job you want, you're going to say, oh, I want a job in the healthcare field. That's very vivid. That's not detail-oriented, right? It doesn't tell me where you want to work, who you like to work for, what type of a practice you would like to work for. It's very vivid. It's no bigger than you saying, hey, what's going on outside? You can say, oh, this, and this. I want you to get a vision for yourself. I want you to think about what you're aspiring to do. What is it that you desire to do? Create that vision for yourself. Create a specific vision for yourself. So this is what I mean when I say that. I would like to be a front desk receptionist at a chiropractic office for at least the next 6 months to a year, so I can work my way up to maybe being an assistant manager and then possibly the office manager. I would like to work on information systems for a particular healthcare company. I would like to be working in a hospital. I would like to be working at maybe the Boys and Girls Club or different places like this. Make specific goals. Set those goals for yourself. Write those goals out. Don't just put them in your mind. Write them down. Because if you look at them every day, you're going to specify your vision. Then I want you to ask yourself, what type of car would I like to drive? Would I like to drive maybe the new 2017, 2018 Honda Accord? You guys get a chance, check that out when we're done with the webinar. It's a really nice car. Or maybe you like a new SUV. I don't know what it is that you may want to drive, but get a specific thing. Put the things on your wall, on your mirror, on your refrigerator that you want to obtain because you have a vision, because you finished school, because you created a way to make a better life for yourself, right? Put them up. I don't care how far out they may be. Still, put them there. If you don't put them up, you're going to forget about them, and then you're going to get focused on something else, and you won't stay focused on your vision. You won't stay focused on your goal. So if you guys have already gotten that down, now let's move into why all these things I just shared with you are going to be important on you mastering the art of interviewing. So the first thing you need to have if you're going to master the art of interviewing is that you're going to need to have confidence. Now, why confidence, Chad? Why do you say I need to have confidence? I've heard that. People tell me that all the time. Well, I'm actually going to teach you how to take your confidence and implement it into the interviewing process, okay? So this is my personal saying. You guys have applied for positions. Maybe you felt like you can't get the job. Maybe you've been told you didn't get the job because you didn't have that E word, right, that experience word, right? And sometimes we think to ourselves, oh, gosh, I don't have enough experience. I've been working here, or I've worked in fast food, or I've only been a cashier, or I've only worked in a warehouse, or whatever the case may be, or maybe you've never had a job ever. So you always feel like you don't have enough experience. Well, I want to tell you this, and you guys can write this down. Experience is the hurdle that confidence helps us leap over. I'll say that again for you guys. Experience is the hurdle that confidence helps us leap over. All right, you guys got that down? Now, I'm going to share something else with you. This is my personal interviewing definition for for confidence. It's your internal ability to create external trust. It's your internal ability to create external trust. Wow. Yes. Why do I say that? Well, I'll tell you two things. So, as I said earlier, this is my first webinar, right? I've never technically had experience doing a webinar, but I'm doing it, right? You're listening, I'm talking, we're having a webinar, right? But you know what made me want to do this? Because I wanted to take advantage of an opportunity that was put in front of me. I wanted to. So if I wanted to, that means I had to have what? Confidence that I could actually do it. Well, guess what? I'm doing it. It's taking place right now, and we are both now taking part of something that I had never done before. Now, I'll even go even further than that. Why is confidence so important? Because confidence is going to give you what you need to convince the person that you're sitting across from to give you the opportunity to do something maybe that you've never done. So what does confidence look like in an interview? So let's break this down. You get to it and your career service advisor calls you, or maybe you have an interview for yourself, and I'm going to ask you, what are the first 5 things that you're going to think about when I say, hey, you got an interview, or you think about that, hey, I have an interview. Most people tell me, oh, I'm going to have work, make sure I have a resume. And if you're going to have a resume, just tell you this, take at least 3 resumes, because every interview I ever went on, they took one from me when I first walked in the door. They took a second one from me and they wrote on it. Then they asked for a third one before I left. So take a minimum of 3. The next thing is that you're going to want to know where you're going, right, the location. The third thing is your attire. What exactly is it that you're going to wear, your transportation, right, and the time of the interview begins. So those are all great. Those 5 things are all great, okay? Now, the thing is that once you have those things, I want you to add 3 more things to that. I want you to, first of all, add that I'm going to be confident. And this is how I'm going to use my confidence when I actually walk into that interview. I want you to know one more thing, and I'm going to add this. I'm sorry I skipped over. If you don't have the exact things that you may need to actually wear to that interview, please feel free to get on the phone, call your career service advisor, call career services. The number is up there, that 888-216-0535 phone number. Give us a call. We can help you out with anything you may need in regards to attire or things like that. But we can't help you if we don't hear from you. So please feel free to give us a call. We're waiting to hear from you. Also, if you don't know exactly what to wear and you have some things in your closet, please feel free to take your smartphone, go on Google professional interview attire. There will be hundreds of pictures that will pop up, like some of those people over in the screen. And so those are some things that you can use already, because I'm going to tell you this. The first thing that's going to make you feel good, first of all, about yourself when you're working in an interview is that you feel that you look good before you walk in the interview. And I'll also tell you this. When you walk into the interview, you're going to want to make sure that you're making the right impression. And so these things help you out with confidence. And this is another reason why you should really not allow your experience to stop you from actually taking advantage of opportunities. So every year, and I know we may have some people on here who are not sports fans, but I think it's a great analogy. The NFL has a draft, right, and actually just took place maybe last month. And this draft process, they actually give young kids who have never played sports professionally an opportunity to literally become millionaires overnight. But it doesn't just take place on the night of the draft. Yes, like you, they've worked hard prior to that draft experience. They've played college ball, maybe they played high school ball, played ball when they were kids. Well, guess what? All the things that you've done up until the point you signing up for Ultimate Medical Academy, getting into your program, finishing your program, those things have given you what they call the intangibles, the necessary things that you already have and that you bring to the table in order to land the position. It's the same thing with these NFL players. They have to go through a grueling interviewing process. They have to meet with managers, owners, general managers, coaches, trainers. Not only that, they have to take IQ tests. They take all type of analysis and all these things. And if they can successfully pass these tests and also convince these people that they have what it takes, notice the word I said, convince. Why you would say, well, Chad, they already seen their tape, right? They play ball. But it's different when you're being compensated for a position. Everything prior to that was voluntary. When they played Little League, they volunteered to play Little League. When they played in high school, they volunteered to play in high school. When they played in college, they volunteered to play in college. Now they are actually being compensated because they are now choosing to take this on as a professional occupation. And it's a different level of pressure when you take on that, almost to the fact that some of them actually, once they're drafted, they don't even plan out to be what they were projected to be. Why? Because there's a level of pressure. On top of that, they're going to play with the best of the best. They may have been the best in college, but they may meet somebody at the next level that's a little better than them. But they still have to take advantage of the opportunity. They still have to have the confidence to go in there, do those interviews, go through their combine, take their position, and hope to be drafted. So this is why your confidence will always give you an opportunity if you don't let experience stop you. Remember that experience is a hurdle that confidence helps you leap over. So use your confidence to overcome where you lack experience, all right? So the other thing with your confidence is your confidence is also going to be driven by your why. Your confidence is going to be driven by your why. You have to have a comprehensive idea. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. You have to know why I went to school. why I want to work in the healthcare field, why this is going to help me and my family moving forward, right? So these are the things that I want you to focus on. Once you have that comprehensive idea, you know why you're doing it. That comprehensive idea is plus your why is going to equal the confidence that you need to move forward. If you don't have that, every little hurdle that comes along, right, is going to stop you from moving forward. It's going to prohibit or try to hinder you. So when you walk into that front office, what I suggest is that when you get there, of course, you're going to meet that person at the front desk, right? You're going to speak to them. You're going to tell them that you're there for an interview, you're there to meet the office manager or the doctor. This is what I would suggest if it's possible. If the front desk person isn't extremely busy, strike up a conversation with them, okay? Strike up a conversation. You're going to ask them a few simple questions. You're going to ask them questions such as, how long have you been working here? What is your busiest day of the week? And what are your normal responsibilities? Now, you say to yourself, Chad, why would I ask someone those questions? Why before I get ready to interview? I'm going to tell you why. And this has actually been shared with me with other people who have actually worked the front desk at medical offices. If the doctor or the office manager comes out and they see that you are having a conversation with their person who has been there for who knows how long, they're going to automatically assume or think that you guys will get along if you were offered the position, right? They're also going to think that you're not going to really have a problem approaching and speaking to their patients, right? So you're actually putting a feather in the cap. You're actually giving yourself a check in the box that says, okay, they have personality, they have confidence, they're willing to speak to the people that are already here in the office, which brings us to our next step, personality, right? I already mentioned it. The next thing you're going to have to bring to the table if you are going to master the art of interviewing is you need personality, okay? Now, why do you need personality? First thing I want you to know is this. Your personality comes from this. It comes from your strategy. You need to be strategical, right? It's what you're going to use. It's your how. Your personality is your how. It's your strategy. It's your strategical plus your how equals your personality. Now, how does that work out? If I were to take all of you and you never painted a house ever in your life, right, and I left you with a paintbrush, a roller, a bucket of paint, and I said, hey, paint this house, I'll be back in a couple hours. You've never seen anybody paint. You've seen houses painted, but you've never painted yourself, right? You're going to get started. You're going to start painting and moving the brush and rolling the roller. Now, if I come back 2 hours later and you have paint stripes going one way, another way, you didn't tape the outside of the ledges on the outside of the house or tape around the windows, so now every single thing is one solid color. If I get upset with you, am I right? I never showed you how to paint the house. I only told you what to do, right? So you need to have that how. That how is how you get it done. Your personality is how you get it done. This is another reason why you want to make sure you have personality. I'm going to actually give you my definition for personality, okay? It's kind of like the first one. Your personality is your internal ability to create external acceptance. It's right there on the screen. It's your internal ability to create external acceptance. Wow. So when you go into an interview, right, you're worried about so many things. But what I really want you to focus on is the first 5 minutes of that interview, okay? The first 5 minutes. The employer knows very little about you, right? So this is your opportunity to present yourself. How you present yourself is going to make the difference of how they perceive you to be. And think about it like this. If I was to take your personal ID card, right, and you guys were all to hand me your personal identification card and your name would be on there and you would tell me where you stay at, how old you are, all those things, but it doesn't tell me who you are as a person. Well, guess what? That's almost the equivalent of your resume. Maybe you sent your resume. Maybe your career service advisor sent your resume. But if they were just going to basically hire you off your resume, they would say, hey, look, I got your resume, you got the job, come on in. If that happens, great. Please tell us how to do that. But for the most part, that doesn't happen. They get your resume. They tell you, hey, I'd like to meet with you. They set a time. You come in there. Why are they asking you? Why? Because they want to know who you are. They want to know how you will operate, how you would function. They want that face-to-face meeting with you. Now, the importance of understanding the face-to-face meeting is a lot of times this is where we get a little hesitant, right? We start thinking about all these things. But the only thing you need to focus on is walking in the door, and I tell my graduates this sometimes. When you walk through that door, it needs to be like a Hollywood scene. The wind needs to be blowing. It needs to be like it's red carpet. The lights are flashing. Your personality needs to be glowing from the time you walk in the door to the time you walk through that second door to go to the back office. What you want to do is you want to take the time to actually wave and speak to all the staff members, all the people that you meet going along the way. Why? Because you're having an opportunity in that face-to-face meeting to actually make an impression on them. Even if you look at the screen right now from Undercover Recruiter, it says, when meeting new people, 55% of the impact comes from the way the person dresses, acts, and walks through the door. Now, I'm telling you this, Undercover Recruiter is telling you this, so that's how important it is. It's almost like being on a campaign trail, right? It's like being on a campaign trail. When you walk through that door, you're going to wave, you're going to speak. Why? Because those people only get to experience you for what? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, however long it takes. But that small wave, that small hello will make an impression on them. Because when that office manager gets done speaking to you for 30 minutes and they walk out the door, you know what they're going to ask once you leave? They're going to say, what did you think about her? What did you think about him? And all they're going to be able to say is, I thought she or he was nice. They seem to be very pleasant. I think they'll be great to work with. Now think about it. They don't know you. They haven't spoken to you, but they get an impression of you based upon how you dress, how you carried yourself, how you walked through the door. You made an impact in their lives in those 10 to 15 seconds that they saw you. And they made a decision based upon those 10 to 15 seconds that they had an experience with you. Show your personality. When you're sitting in there with the office manager and you're sitting across from them, be careful of your nonverbal communication. A lot of times we get in interviews and we're not conscious of our eye contact or our facial expressions, our posture, our gesture. Make sure you're making eye contact. I'm telling you, when I was in that interview, yes, I was sweating bullets, but I made eye contact the whole time. I made sure that my facial expressions was a smile or show a level of excitement, right? Also, I made sure that my gestures, I wasn't coughing or sneezing or doing anything weird. And I also made sure that I sat up straight in the chair. So those are just things that you can do just to help yourself. And I'll tell you how to do that. You want to know, you say, well, Chad, how can I know how my face looks in the interview? People in your house who may live with you, or if you by yourself, great, may think you're a little crazy. But go ahead and go in the bathroom, close the door, look yourself in the mirror if you got one, look in the mirror, and start saying certain things. Like answer questions, like talk about yourself while you're in the mirror. Because you're going to make facial gestures that you need to maybe work out that's going to kind of throw the office manager off. And if you have to sit down in the chair, look yourself in the eye. Sometimes it's hard for us to look in the mirror and look ourselves in the eye. So start practicing that way. That's a great way to develop that skill, right? So those are some things. Now that you understand the importance of being confident, how to show your confidence when you're going into the interview, you understand the necessity to allow your personality to shine through and win over people. Remember, your personality is what's going to gain you acceptance. What does that mean? That they're going to actually have some level of likability. And always remember this, when you have the money to, you buy what you like, right? People purchase what they like. And I'm not saying that the person is buying you, but they're making a decision. And I call office managers back, and I speak to them, and I say, hey, what did you think about this graduate? What did you think about that graduate? They say, I really liked he or she. They never say, oh, well, this about their resume. Sometimes that happens, but for the most part, that opportunity really expands and goes further based upon a lot of times how much they like you. You know this, and I know this, and we're going to move on to our next step. You don't like working with people that you don't like working with. People you don't like working with them. So people want to work with people they like, and your personality is that ability to gain that likability and that acceptance. So last but not least, what could stop you from being able to show your personality? What could stop you from being able to show your confidence? Nervousness, right? Forget your nerves. I'm going to teach you guys right now how to overcome nervousness for the most part. Not that you will never be nervous, but how to overcome nervousness. Now, I want you to write this definition down. Nervousness is your body's natural reaction to an uncomfortable situation or circumstance. It's right there on the screen. Write that down, and I'm going to explain what I mean when I say that. So the first word you notice in there is, one of the first words you notice is natural. What does that mean? That means that it's always going to happen. Every time you go into a new opportunity, it doesn't just have to be an interview. It could be going to meet somebody's parents for the first time, going to a place you've never been, whatever it may be. Every new opportunity that you have is going to create a certain level of nervousness inside of you. You want to know why? Because it's natural. Now, you can be very nervous, a little nervous, or not nervous at all. So I want you to go ahead and take that poll. When you go into an interview, how nervous are you? Give you guys a few seconds.
All right, great. So, chat, it looks like we have one attendee here that doesn't get nervous at all. That is great. Kudos to you. I wish that was me. But the majority say they're at least a little nervous or very nervous. So.
Okay, great, awesome. So that means that this may be of the highest priority, right? And a lot of times it is. It's the difference maker. And I'll tell you this, guys, in the beginning when I told my story, right, I said that I was sweating bullets. You know why I was sweating bullets? Because I was nervous. But how did I overcome that nervous feeling? How did I not allow? Yes, it physically manifested on my face, but it did not come out in my space. Does that make sense? It manifested on my face, but it didn't come out in my space, meaning I didn't allow it to take over my interview and take over my opportunity. So how do we overcome that? First of all, I want you to understand this, your approach. How you approach something is really going to determine how you handle it, right? Your approach plus your what creates excitement. If you know how you're going to approach it, you know what you need to do, you're going to get excited about it. Now, how do you get excited? Why do we need to get excited? Do you know that your body chemically reacts the same exact way to nervousness as it does to excitement? It's the same chemical reaction. Your body sees the same chemical reaction. Chad, it does, yes. What's the difference then? Why do I physically act different? Well, this is why. Okay? Nervousness is atmospheric. It's about what's going on around you. It's about what you think, maybe what you see, or what you assume, what you assume things are going to be. It doesn't mean that it's real, right? So you get a call for an interview, your career service advisor tells you have an interview, or a company calls you that you submitted your resume for, and they say, hey, we want to interview. Automatically, you start getting nervous. You start worrying about what's going to happen, what they're going to say, what they're going to think. Those things haven't even happened yet, right? So those things create nerves. And so a lot of times what we do is we allow those things to really start really hunkering down on us and start really forcing us into this nervous thing. And the thing is, if you let nervousness go too far, it turns into anxiety, and then it turns into panic, right? So I don't want you having a panic attack. I don't want you having a nervous breakdown or anxiety breakdown. So I want you to learn how to channel that nervousness the right way. And the way to channel that is to get excited, okay? Get excited. Now, how do you get excited? First of all, excitement is point of view. That's the difference. Nervousness is atmospheric. Excitement is point of view. It's about what's going on in front of you. And two people that always comes to mind when I think about people who know how to handle those moments, who've handled big moments in their lives, I think about Kobe Bryant, I think about Michael Jordan. They say that they get in this zone. When they have to take that last big shot, that game-winning shot, and they've taken plenty of them, they say they don't worry about what happened the last time they took the shot, what's going to take place after they take the shot. All that matters is in that moment, I need to focus in and take that shot. Stop worrying about what happened at the last interview. Stop worrying about what's going to happen after the interview is over. All I want you to focus on is what's taking place in that specific interview. You have to be willing to gain emotional control. right? Because if you don't gain control of your emotions, they're going to overwhelm you. You're going to stumble over your words. You're not going to have eye contact. You're not going to have great posture. You're going to make gestures that are going to throw the interviewer off. So this is why you should be excited. Think about it like this. They saw your resume. They called you in. They want to meet with you. Your career service advisor called, talk to them about you. They want to meet with you. They want to meet with you. Think about that. So you should be excited about it. Don't get nervous. I would be excited. Somebody that I've never met that has the opportunity to get me started in a field that I've studied for over a year wants to meet with me to actually give me an opportunity to see if I'm the person that they want to bring into their company and make a part of their team. If I was you guys, I'd get excited. So don't allow the nervousness to overtake you. Get excited. And I want you to think about this, and I'll give you this and we'll move on. I want you to think about the last time you got excited, right? Maybe somebody surprised you, they bought you a gift, maybe somebody bought you flowers. I don't know, maybe whatever. Think about what happened when you got excited. Maybe you cried, you jumped up and down, maybe you did a weird little dance. Who knows? You were excited. You didn't care what anybody around you thought, right? So it's the same thing. If you focus on what's going on in front of you and not what's going on around you, your excitement will always be that key thing that helps you keep your nervousness down. It'll counteract your nervousness. So when you get to that next interview, I want you to get out your car. I want you to look yourself in your window. If you got 10 on your window, great. If you don't, you just kind of see a little reflection. I want you to tell yourself, hey, I am here because I want to be here, and I know why I'm here, and I'm here to take care of business, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to master this interview. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to give it my all. I'm not going to get really nervous. I'm going to get excited about this opportunity, and I want you to walk in that door. When you walk in that door, I want you to make sure that your personality is shining, right? I want you to remember that you need to speak to everybody you can. I want your confidence to show. I want, while you're sitting there waiting for the office manager to come, I want you to not be twiddling your fingers, playing around on your phone. Try to strike up a conversation with that person at the front desk if possible. Because when you're playing on their phone, they're going to come out and think that you're not focusing on what's taking place in front of you. So some key takeaways, and I probably just maybe shared a few of them with you, is that be confident. You have the education to do the job, right? Show your personality. You want to work with people that you like, and people want to work with people that they like, and your personality is your way to win everybody over. Get excited. Don't allow the moment to be bigger than what it is. Focus on what's going on in front of you, and make sure that those are the three things. Guys, I've used these things personally in my life. I challenge all of you to use them, and please feel free to give us some feedback. If not me, talk to your advisors about it, and we want you to understand that. Remember your why, your vision. Why did you get in this? What type of life do you see for yourself? I want you to make sure when you get off this webinar that you take the time and create that poster board that you need. Your how, your strategy. How are you going to get to the next step? How are you going to get yourself from that, maybe just that front desk position to that office manager position? And I'll go back and I'll say this because maybe I didn't say this in the beginning. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have goals set, you may go in on your first day at work and you may have a tough day. Maybe you don't get along with everybody in the office. Maybe it's a rough day and the office manager's a little rough on you. If you don't have a vision, you're going to allow that one day to stop you from going back the second day and the day after that. But if you got a vision, if you have goals that you set, you're going to remember that, you know what, no matter what happened yesterday, no matter what happened this morning, I'm going to keep pushing forward because I came here with a vision. I came here with a goal. I came here for a reason. I went to school. I invested in myself. I invested in my family. I am making a better life for me and my family. And remember this, your children, your family, they're watching you. Maybe you are inspiring somebody else to do the exact same thing because you had a vision. You had a goal. And your what, that's what you're going to accomplish by sticking to the first two things. All right? So that is it for me. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I hope it was impactful, it was educational, and maybe you got some questions. So I'm going to be quiet and let you ask us some questions.
All right, Chad, that was a really great presentation. Right before we get into Q&A, we just want to ask everyone on the line that if they had a good experience with UMA to leave us a quick review. on Google online. So it's ultimatemedical.edu/Google. We would just love to get some feedback, whether it's the webinar or your education, anything. So now we will go into the Q&A. And just remember, UMA's Alumni Career Services Department is always available to help, and their phone number and the email is on the slide here. If you can't see it, it's 888-216-0535, and Chad mentioned that earlier, and the email is alumniservices@ultimatemedical.edu. Okay, so the first question we've got, Chad, when you don't get a call back, should I call them?
So you went on an interview, and they said we're going to give you a call to let you know. Definitely always call back. Show that initiative, because sometimes they get busy, they forget, things happen. I mean, I deal with this on a daily basis with my teams. So, yes, definitely always take the initiative to make that call back.
Great. Here's another question. What is the amount of time that you should wait for a response after sending in your resume?
All companies have different time frames. It depends on how many resumes that they're actually receiving for that position. So sometimes if you can, it's always great if you can physically actually go up there after you sent your resume. And you don't have to be rude. Don't feel like you're being pushy or being desperate. It's not about that. You want to start your career. So maybe you sent your resume in and it's been a week or so, and you haven't heard anything. First thing I would always do after I've seen the resume, I would actually call. So if you sent your resume in, call later that day or call the next day and let them see if they received your resume. Sometimes we submit things and the submission process doesn't go all the way through, and you don't know that, so we assume, and then we're kind of left out there in the dark not knowing. So feel free to make that phone call and ask them, hey, my name is such and such. I sent my resume in for this particular position. I want to just make sure that you guys actually received it because I'm very interested in the position.
Yep, and that actually makes me think of our April webinar. We had Job Search Success, Staying Focused and Motivated. We covered that in the Q&A as well. Following up is always great. Even, as they said, they called it pounding the pavement. Getting in there and getting your face shown is a really good tactic. And that's on YouTube, the recording, if you didn't have the opportunity to watch it live with us. So here's another thing. It's not a question, but it's a statement. I just want everybody to hear it. So one of our attendees said, I now understand that I need to turn the tables and realize I'm not being judged, but I have the opportunity to win over another. And I think that's perfect, and I think that's exactly what Chad is trying to describe in this webinar. So we'll get back to our questions.
Awesome.
When applying online, how would you write a cover letter?
Oh, awesome. So think of your cover letter as, they like to say, a 30-second elevator pitch. I would write my cover letter in the sense of telling people, very shortly who I am, what my aspirations are, and why they should really make me a part of their team. So it needs to be full of confidence. And then, of course, you want to go ahead and list on there some of the things you've done that maybe may not be listed on your on your resume. So really that's what it is. It's like that 30-second elevator pitch about you. And if you're struggling with how to formulate those things and write those things, please, I'm not giving a plug, I'm just saying call your career service advisors. They can help you out with things like that. So that's what I would do, in your cover letter. Just a little bit about you, what you hope to accomplish, and some of your goals and some things like that.
So following up on that cover letter question, another viewer asked, should you always send a cover letter with your resume?
I would. If you have the ability, definitely send that cover letter because, like I said, remember, you think about it, if your identification, if your resume is like your ID card, it just gives them the basics. Maybe your resume is maybe the equivalent to maybe like a Snapchat video in a sense. You just want to give them a little bit of peek inside of who you are and gain their interest. So, yeah, always send a cover letter when you send your resume.
Okay, so how could I address my lack of health experience during the interview?
Great question. So what I always instruct our graduates to do is you don't have a lot of experience, right? The great thing to ask the employer is this, and see, this is why the confidence comes in, because you have to ask the employer, do you remember your first opportunity? Do you remember the first job that you actually got in the healthcare field? How much experience did you have? How long had you worked in the field? They're going to give you an answer. And a lot of times they're going to tell you, well, little to none. I went here, I went there, somebody gave me a chance. Well, ma'am, sir, I'm asking for that same opportunity, that same chance. I'll never be able to get experience if it doesn't give me an opportunity to actually gain some. So that's how I would deal with that.
Okay, great. Here's another question. So I'm a bit of a tech person. Should I carry a digital copy and a hard copy with me to my interviews?
Well, you could technically carry a digital copy on your phone, correct? So you could always, if need be, you could email it from your phone. I would tell you to carry the hard copies. They just seem to like to have the paper in their hand. It's something tangible. And in every interview I've ever been in, I usually I take 5 minimum, but they're going to at least take 3 of them from you. So, and they may ask you to actually send you and send them another copy. So you can always do that as soon as you walk out and you go get in the car or however you're leaving the interview.
All right, Chad, here's a great question. How do you approach the subject of salary expectations, and should you ever state a figure when asked?
So usually the best thing I always share with graduates is that there's a couple of websites you can actually go on. I know, like, I use Glassdoor sometimes to actually find out what the minimum or the expectation for that particular position is in your particular state or city or county. You can always find websites. You just Google that, and it'll usually show some stuff for you. And once you know what that is, when you're asked, if they say, well, what do you expect? What is your expectation? Well, I've done some research, and this position pays X amount of this coming in. But you always got to realize, too, if you don't have a lot of experience, they're going to usually want to bring you in at a certain tier. But I can tell you this also. Your confidence in the interview, how you handle the interview, can always have a play on your income. Because if you can make them believe that you can do the job even though you haven't done it, they'll be willing sometimes to pay you what you may want. So don't be afraid of that question, but always know the minimum, know the ceiling, find somewhere in the middle for what you're going to offer, and then let them counteroffer you. So if the ceiling is 15 and the bottom is 10, go right around 12 or 13 and then let them say yay or nay. Don't be afraid to ask for it. You feel that's what you're valuable for, you guys can negotiate from there.
All right, Chad, another hard question that employers sometimes ask. How do you handle job gaps on your resume? Okay,
so that's always something that comes up even when I speak to employers. You have a person who's been out of work for X amount of time. Now, you actually know why that exists. I've had it where you've had people who, maybe they had an illness and they couldn't work, or maybe you were in school and you couldn't work, or maybe you were a stay-at-home mom, or whatever the case may be. Always be willing to be as transparent as possible about that gap in employment, because the thing about it is, even if it's something that you're not proud of, even if they do a background check, they're going to find out. They're going to call references. So be as transparent as you possibly can about that gap in employment. But if it's a legit reason you were out, express that to them. Hey, listen, my mom got ill. I had to take care of her. This happened, and I was not able to work. And while I was out, I went to school, I bettered myself, and I'm ready to get back into the job market and get to work. So that's always a great way to answer it. Just kind of be honest as you possibly can about it.
Great answer. Another question. Is it good to check the company out before you go to the interview?
Always check the company out before you go to the interview. You want to know how long they've been around. If you, like I said, find out information about the doctor, maybe where he did his residency at, information, and usually all that information is on their website. So definitely, because they're going to ask questions, and trust me, employers are impressed when you know about their company. When I went into that marketing interview, I knew about their company and what they did, and I think it had made an impression on them.
Okay, so here's a question. So when an employer asks you questions during the interview, how can you prepare for those?
Well, a good way to prepare for those questions is, I'll be honest with you guys, call our interview prep specialist. They will prep you for those questions. They will actually sit there, and it's a difference. I know there's always confusion between going through a mock interview and going through an interview prep. The difference is that a mock interview, when you first graduate, is usually about an hour because they're trying to evaluate a lot of things and get you prepared for the next step in finding your career opportunity. But a prep is usually a 10 to 5 minute preparation where they'll actually go through specific interview questions with you, help you overcome that. All those tools are available here for you at UMA. So feel free to call in, even if you didn't get the interview through a career service advisor, still call. We will get you over to the interview prep specialist and let them know, hey, I'm alumni. I want to be prepped. I have an interview coming up. So that's a good way, because most employers usually ask the same questions. I want you guys to also think about how many interviews have you went to, and you pretty much get the same questions, right? So there's also stuff you can Google online.
I was going to say, I was going to go back to your Google thing earlier. That's something that I do before interviews. I Google some of those questions, and you can look up hard questions, easy questions, just different things, background, the tricky questions that they try and get you with. Google is full of those answers.
Awesome.
Okay. Chad, any advice on finding a job without being certified?
Ooh.
They're preparing to take their test. I think this is probably pretty common, finishing school, getting ready to become certified, but needing to find work during that time.
What I would do is I would actually find something in my field, if possible, or maybe something that's close to what I went to school for that doesn't need the certification until I get my certification. Then once you get that, what will happen is you'll get some work experience, right? You'll get a little income coming in. You get your certification. At least try to stay wherever you're at for a year. It looks better on your resume, and I'll give that to you guys. You want to try wherever you can to the best of your ability. I know you're going to have opportunities where you're going to get frustrated, but if you can stick out those first couple of weeks, getting acclimated to the office, learning to kind of deal with the different personalities, because you're never going to find the perfect work situation. It just doesn't really happen. There's going to be people you don't get along with. Get that experience. Get that year under your belt, and then from there, you'll be able to broaden your horizons. When you get your certification, you'll be able to get out there, use your certification to help you. So I always find that thing, like we get jobs and we run into that one little snag and we want to give up and we want to quit. Don't do that. Remember, take advantage of every opportunity that's presented to you, and then that way you can build your resume, not only your paper resume, but your personal resume. Think about what happened to you as a person when you stick it out through hard things. You can actually say, I remember I had a job, I really didn't care for it being there, but I stuck it out, I made it through. You can use that to go back to the next time you run into a tough situation.
Okay, another question. When the employer asks why you left your last job, any advice?
Well, that's a great question. The thing about it is that we all have reasons. The thing I would tell you guys is this. Always, to the best of your ability, try to give an answer with even if it's a negative reason, give a positive answer. So let's say you left because you weren't getting along with your supervisor. And you can say, listen, the last job I had, I came to work every day. I worked really hard. But if for some reason me and my supervisor couldn't see eye to eye, I tried to work things out. It didn't work. I felt it was better for me to leave on my terms than be released or let go, because I didn't want that to be a part of my work history. And I also wanted to be able to call and be able to leave and have that place as a reference. So those are some things you can say. It depends on the situation and the circumstance. But a lot of times you could just say, look, no matter what happened, it just wasn't working out, and I felt it was best and more professional for me to leave and walk away from that situation than put myself in a situation where I was let go by them and then have that as something that may be held against me at my next opportunity.
So we have a question about virtual interviews. Would you say to apply just these same tactics?
I would say with the virtual interviews, whether it was phone or it was the same tactics. You want to go into each opportunity the same way. And the thing is, I'll share this with you. The reason you want to practice this, because your real desire is to turn this into a technique. You want it to be something that you can consistently and easily use, because how do you know how well something works if you don't do it over and over again, right? So use it no matter whether it's a phone interview, it's a virtual interview, or it's an in-person interview. I would definitely, encourage that.
I think, too, for phone interviews, and I've learned this, it's important for even those nonverbal cues, even though they can't see you, it affects how you talk and how you present yourself, and they can tell. So even those nonverbal cues are important virtually. Okay, looks like we'll do one or two more questions. If you're asked about what's your ultimate goal, how would you answer that? You got to kind of toe the line, so, you don't.
No, that's a great question. So let's say that you walk into an office, you're sitting in there, and you're in there with the doctor and the office manager, right? A lot of pressure. And they ask you, what is your ultimate goal? Well, my ultimate goal is to become the best I can possibly be at the career path that I find myself in. So let's say you are a medical administrative assistant. My ultimate goal is to learn everything I can learn about your office so that I could possibly in the near future have an opportunity to help run this office and be a great asset to your company. So those are always good things to say, to let them know that your goal is to make their business better. That should be your ultimate goal. Whatever I can do to make your business better, to improve upon what you guys have already established, that is my ultimate goal. So I always feel like that because, like I said, that company, if it's privately owned, is like a child to them. And it's like if somebody leaves their child in your care, they expect you to take care of their child the way they would. So always make sure that you make it not so much about you, but more about what you bring to the table that can actually help the company.
Great. So it looks like we're almost out of time. We just want to wrap up. There is one, not so much a question as a comment that I feel like I would like to share with everybody. So one of our participants said, so Chad, to get the job, you must be able to win over others, correct? It's like marketing yourself, saying that you're the best fit for the job. It's basically branding yourself to that specific job title. I think that is exactly what Chad has been saying here. So I just wanted everybody to hear that comment.
Awesome.
Anything else you want to just touch on, Chad?
I just want to let you guys know that we here at UMA are here to support you in multiple ways, but you'll never find out what that support looks like if you don't call and speak to us. And I'm not saying that maybe you haven't had an experience that wasn't so pleasurable before, but I ask you also, give us a second chance. You know, we all need second chances sometimes, and so feel free to give us a call. Reach out to us. If you need to, I'm not saying all of y'all can call and speak to me, but I am always readily available to speak to graduates. I want to let you guys know also that we greatly appreciate you. We're proud of you, and we're just here to champion your student outcome, and hopefully that by doing that, you actually have the opportunity to do some of the things that you set out to do when you started your program. And this is what I love about being here. This is what I love about UMA is that you guys come first here. And so this is why I did this webinar, because I take every opportunity I can to speak to our graduates, just as I did in the fall commencement and now on this webinar. So I wish you guys the best of luck in your job search. And I just hope that you're able to, find the opportunities that you're looking for and start that career and make things better for you and your family.
Wow, Chad, we appreciate you saying that and being available for our graduates. We did get one final question, and we'll end on this note. What is the best way to fill out a thank you letter?
Thank you note. I would keep it, general, but I guess personal at the same time, and I'll explain. You just want to thank them for the opportunity that they gave you. Let them know that you're very interested in the position, and if they were to offer it to you, you would be a great asset to their company.
All right, wonderful. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you got some great points from this and have some motivation and inspiration for your next interview. Feel free to always reach out to us. Again, the number and the email are on the slide on the screen. We hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.